Hi, and welcome to Ladies of the Paranormal World. You are here with your host, Archangel, Drusilla, Wendigo, and Skinwalker. How are we doing, guys?
Good.
Good. Today's topic, we are going to talk about Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, which is said to be one of the most haunted asylums in all of the country. Uh, so, I'm going to give a little backstory, have our little discussion like we always do, and then show some pictures and do what we usually do. Uh, Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, subsequently now the Weston State Hospital, was a Kirkbride psychiatric hospital that was operated in 1864 to 1994. The government of the U.S. Um, West Virginia, excuse me, in the city of Weston State Hospital, got its name in 1913, which was used for while patients occupied it. Excuse me. uh, but was changed back to its originally commissioned username, unused name, the Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. Now, the first thing about this lunatic asylum is it was created and built in the 19th century, to be specific, 1850. It was originally supposed to hold, excuse me, 400 patients and ended up holding a total of 2,400 patients and was overwhelmed uh, by its patients, the amount of people. Oh, I'm sorry. No, it was originally designed to hold 250 people and ended up with 2,400 patients. It was forcibly closed in 1994 due to the changes in patient treatment. So basically, we changed the way that um, mentally ill patients were treated, and they obviously couldn't get with the curriculum. Uh,
So basically, had no electrocution in the brains, and they were like, "Oh no, we're just gonna pass it by."
that's pretty much about it. Um, now, that was just pretty much the close down on it. Uh, Allegheny basically was. You remember us talking about Penhurst State Hospital? The
Yeah,
treatment, unfortunately, was very similar. That was the one where they used to pull teeth of the patients that bit, and um, they were very cruel to them, starved them. Uh, Allegheny was very much similar in that they would lock patients away in their rooms, and their rooms were not very big. They were actually very quite small. When I show pictures, I'll be able to show you some of those. They would handcuff or bind them to their beds using cloth.
right.
What do you want? Restraints. They would starve them, electroshock therapy, excuse me, um, ice therapy or cold therapy. I don't remember what they call it, but hydrotherapy, I think it is.
Yeah,
Um,
that's basically like water torture.
and then they would severely medicate them to basically they were brain dead. Um, and the
So there
ones
was
that
a lot of
did
drool on
survive
the floor.
that then would undergo things like ice pick lobotomies, which, as we know, is a very cruel form of mental and physical damage that it did. Just insane. But these are the practices that were considered normal at that time, and you would end up with people who didn't have a very severe form of mental disabilities, and you would have people there with severe mental disabilities, all just kind of thrown together.
Oh yeah,
So,
back then that's how it was, and back then that's pretty much how all the mental hospitals treated their patients. You know,
uh-huh.
oh, there's something wrong with them. Let's mess with their brains. Let's take chunks out. let's electrocute their brains, let's medicate them to the point that they're walking around drooling like a zombie, you know.
Yep.
It was a way to deal with mental illness at that point instead of going, wait, you know, there's something wrong with this person, but maybe we can figure something out besides torturing them.
Right. And back then, they didn't care so much about their physical being or their mental being as they did just they wanted results. And anybody that went in
That's
with
how they
the
that's how they got the results where the suckers finally got enough, and they would go on a rampage and kill somebody.
hmm I mean, these patients were treated so poorly. They were treated like guinea pigs, and they really were. Not just for, their mental disabilities, but they would correct, test things like chickenpox or smallpox vaccines on them, things like that. And a lot of them died under basically being used as guinea pigs for future vaccines in order to cure ailments in other people.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
really, guys?
See, that's the whole thing. Who's gonna complain? Or if somebody complains, who's gonna believe that person when according to whatever, they're you
Yep.
know? And that's how away with a lot of that stuff is because even if a person like that, a mentally ill person said something, it was, oh, why are you believing them? They're crazy. They don't know what they're talking
Right. And I mean, we're not talking just smallpox vaccines, we're talking influenza. You name it, if it's something that we've got a vaccine for, chances are back in the early 1920s, 1930s, up until about probably, well, I would say maybe 1860s till about the 1950s, 1960s. That's what they would use mental patients for because they were just an experimental tool. They wanted to be
about.
able
Yeah.
to figure out vaccines and they wanted to be able to fix what they believed was broken. So they didn't care about the people specifically, they just wanted results. They didn't care how they got those results.
Oh yeah. Like I said, it's because nobody's gonna because they wouldn't try that on normal people, at that point in time. Why? Because the normal be like, you know what, these people are doing some fucked up shit to me.
Hmm.
Well, when you take
Yeah,
the back then, when you take the mentally ill, it's like, oh, don't listen to that person. That person's just crazy.
right,
And so
right.
that's how they hid a lot of their bullshit, was doing shit to the mentally ill to figure out what the hell on with human body, whatever,
Hmm.
is because who's gonna believe back then, who's gonna believe a mentally ill person?
Person, right. And now we're talking, these are people from dyslexic people, so there's really nothing wrong mentally. They just have a little bit of a disability. But people who were dyslexic were thrown in there. People who had ADHD were thrown in there. It wasn't like it was just all criminally insane or criminally mentally disabled people. They were a mixing pot of just basically the rejects of society. And back then, if you were dyslexic or you had a speech impediment, or there had to be something wrong with you, so they had to fix you.
Yes, there had to be something in your head that's wrong. And even if there's something wrong in your head, because like dyslexia does have to do with your brain,
Hmm.
okay? But the only thing that's wrong, like the only issue with it is that when you're reading something, it doesn't make sense to you. Like it looks like a foreign language
Hmm.
on your paper,
Yeah,
but it was
absolutely.
automatically, oh, well, that has to do with the brain. This person's crazy.
Right, exactly.
Instead of
And
going, wait a minute,
unfortunately,
you know, going, wait a minute, you know, let's evaluate this person more because this just may be something that's small, like, yeah, it's something chemically wrong in their brain, but it's nothing to be like, oh my goodness, this person's so crazy, or person's gonna be like walking out, talking to themselves, or
right,
you know, it
right,
was simple things that could have been fixed if they had
right,
looked into it more
right.
back
Well, if they were as
of
educated as
just
people are now about it, yeah. Because nowadays we're a little more, I wouldn't say extremely more, but we are a little more educated. We're a little more aware of the brain functions and of the chemicals and chemical imbalances and things like that. Whereas back then, that wasn't really what we as humankind were familiar with. So it was just looked at as either a burden or a stain or, just something that was very unwanted.
right.
And they used to tell parents back then that, your child has a chance of having Down syndrome, just abort it, or get rid of it because it's going to be mentally disabled. That's how they would take care of it. And if the person chose to give birth, they basically ended up in an asylum, and they would spend the rest of their days there. Most of them died there.
Yes, in very horrible conditions.
Hmm. Yeah, oh yeah. I'm going to show a few pictures here that I have of the outside and inside of Trans Allegheny. And it'll show you just the size of the rooms, and the rooms would have anywhere from 2 to 4 beds in it because this was a overcrowded asylum. It was only meant
Uh,
to house
yeah,
250 people.
by times 10.
Yeah, exactly. It was only supposed to hold 250 people. Ended up holding 2,400 people.
Yeah, that's 10
So
times the amount.
exactly. So you can see this is not a very big. I mean, look, this is it. This building right here. These buildings back here. That's it. This is your whole asylum. Okay. There were 2,400 people smashed into this place. That's a lot of people with little to nearly no room.
Yeah.
And you basically have bodies stacked on top of each other if you have to think about it, really imagine it, And then imagine driving up to this building and seeing it for the first time, knowing this is where you're going to be. Try to put yourself in the shoes of somebody that had to live in this condition. And I mean, it's just absolutely horrific. A little black and
Oh,
white.
it looks like, when you watch a scary movie and everything and you see that creepy fucking house that they pull up to. That's what it
Yeah,
looks like. So I'm sure they're going, oh dear Lord.
it is. It's definitely, now here's the inside now. This is how it looks. Very dilapidated. But you see how close these rooms are to each other? That doesn't leave much room between rooms, now does it? Which means, I mean, going down the hall here, it's, can you even imagine? Here's another dilapidated hallway for you. I give you a little bit of a walk down the way here. But yeah, just imagine walking through these halls, even if they were all painted up. I mean, you've got church pews in the hallways. You know?
Yeah, because that was the thing that for some reason had to do with mental asylums, was that like these people, they were devil worshippers and all that kind of
Mm-hmm.
shit too. So they always
Oh yeah.
had, it always seemed that these places, and I know this sounds fucked up, but these places were run a lot with a lot of like church people in it,
This is
right?
true. Yep, this is very true. Mostly Catholic. if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, you know, and it was because they felt because this person acting this way that their body is being taken over by demons and the devil and
I mean, you can't really see inside that room very well. I don't know, maybe I have a picture or two, but you can see that first off the color of the walls. It looks like each room has a different colored wall, and they all like these weird. There's this pea green. This one down here is like this weird neon blue green
yeah,
teal.
I see that. Like, what is that?
Like
Like,
what?
are we like testing out colors to see what colors work better? I mean,
Right?
notice
And you,
that too. That
I
like
mean,
all over.
even the wiring and the lighting is just very ominous looking. I don't know that I would be able to handle staying in a place like this. Here, if I'm not mistaken, this is the basement of the asylum. It's very
Yeah, no,
obvious.
that is definitely something you would see in like a horror movie. Some
It really
supernatural.
is.
That looks like some. Then Dean would walk in on Supernatural right
Yeah,
before the
it's
cat
definitely
gets him.
kind of creepy looking. This is the stairwell up to the women's ward. So the second floor was the women's ward. The bottom floor was the men's ward. So literally, it was just a staircase away from being blended with the women's population. You can only
Right.
imagine the level of mixing that could have happened and childbearing even. And here's the downward look of this. It's kind of creepy looking.
Why is it that they always have that in
I
all
don't
these
know.
movies? They always have the stairwell that like this.
I know it's kind of creepy, like the spiraling effect. It's just weird to
Yes.
look at. But
Yeah. I'm the kind of person that's like, okay, it has one of those. And since I watch horror movies, right? You always watch these people try to run up these stairs and they have to go. No wonder I'm gonna get caught here.
right, exactly. Like no wonder I got killed. I ran out of breath on the second flight.
Do these roundabouts, okay, just to get up. The dude's gonna get me. I might as well just stand still. Come on.
It's so true. But um, you look at those stairs. You look at and now try to imagine back in the day where everything was brand new, painted brand new, and it still has that creepy vibe. I don't care. You can slap 1,000 coats of paint on that thing. It's still gonna look creepy as shit.
Yeah, and see, that's what I'm wondering about those, because they're like blue, green. They had pink ones, yellow ones. Like, do you
Yeah,
did they think putting up a room that's full of color is going to change anything?
I no idea.
Like,
I have
it's
no
like, oh, well, let's put them in the pink room. That might help them.
idea. Right. You look at them and you definitely go, was it something they thought would calm them? Maybe was being in a green room or a pink room or a yellow room or a blue room,
I guess.
or it's weird. What they did with the rooms is just weird.
Yeah.
um, Now the hauntings of this place, people that currently own it open it for tours, so it is open for tours. Um, Mostly Halloween season types, and people have reported hearing screams in the halls. Oh, go figure. That kind of happens to be something that's heard a lot in asylums.
Right? When you
Hissing,
when you're frying my
growling.
brain, when you're
Yeah.
frying my brain, I'm just gonna lay there and be like,
They say that there's a demonic entity or shadow figure
oh,
that
I'm sure.
roams the halls. It's really tall. Huh?
I said, I'm sure about that one
Oh, I'm too.
because, yeah, that you already know. Like, with all these asylums, unfortunately, there was so much pain, so much nastiness that was done
Mhm.
in there. It's like pretty much all of them has some kind of shadow, some kind of, there's just too much pain that's through those hospitals that brings things, and brings the bad things because of the bad things that happen.
Sorry, keep going. Dealing with my daughter.
But yeah, so most asylums, yes, most asylums have a entity in them, just of the torture and the pain that these people have suffered. With all that torture and all that pain, you're going to bring something evil in. That's what they
Right.
thrive.
Right. And I've,
Yeah.
as I was reading, it says that there's times where people feel like they're touched, their hair is pulled, they'll feel like a child's hand in their hand.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure that's happens. But, like, you got to think about it. A lot of these people, because they even put children into this, that a lot of them, they whatever, maybe the child's hand, maybe it's a little, it actually, the child, one of the children there, a hand to be held, or whatever it is, because a lot of them have died in such a horrid way that, I know a lot of them are like still there. They haven't been able to get past whatever they have to get past to move, basically to move on.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I would not want to spend any time in an asylum, especially back in those days. I'm even still skeptical about stepping into one now, because who knows? It could still be the same way. And especially if it's an asylum that's been around for a while, there is probably still going to be those people that are there that that haven't been able to find their way out, per se.
Yes. Fortunately, a lot of places have changed. You have those ones that you have those people in there that are still like backwards thinking like it was back then. But luckily, nowadays, it's people have gotten past those, oh, well, let's mess with their brains like physically, and, not maybe go through therapy, try a little bit of, medications and stuff, But fortunately now, doctors go, okay, there is an imbalance in somebody's head. We need to figure out how to, at least even the scales of that imbalance. But yes, you do have a lot of places that have gone past what, these old asylums. But you do still have some places that still think that way. Think that the best way to treat somebody with mental illness is to zap the shit out of their brains. To put them on medication where they're sitting around like a zombie. And I mean, that's how it feels. Okay. I've been in one. I have my own mental health issues. Okay. But when I was there, like the first few days, I literally walked around looking like a zombie. You know? And just imagine hundreds of people walking around like this because they go, oh, well, let's drug them up so they don't, they're a problem, you know, because I had my tantrum and that's why they me, because I was a problem, you know, but fortunately that doesn't happen all the time now. And the people that
Right.
have illnesses get the right kind of treatment now, you
Right,
know.
exactly. And
Unfortunately,
sorry, go ahead.
but for unfortunately for those people back then in those asylums, it was easier to zap their brains, put them on a million drugs so they have no idea what the hell is going on around them, to basically suffice them, like to make it so they don't have any issues whatsoever, unfortunately. So a lot of these asylums have big time hauntings because there's so much happened, you know, and they do say sometimes that, you know, these people, they want to get a message to you. Well, you know, when you have that and them being back then, I'm sure they want to tell you that, you know, they were hurt, they were messed
Oh
with
yeah.
to the point that, you know, they died, you know, they were mistreated, they were. So unfortunately for all these asylums, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get a lot of hauntings because these people need somebody to know what happened. You know, they were
Yeah.
hurt. They were, you know, because it's not like they know that things have changed, basically, you know.
Now, another thing that they say that they have experienced in these places, that I believe, is children laughing or crying. They've had toys that would move around, as if a child was playing with it. Um, they have times where you can hear not just screams, but what sounds like someone screaming, "Help me," or "Stop." That's another one. But then
Yeah.
there's also times where they've gotten EVPs of people going, "fuck you" or "fuck them," or saying other explicit things in their EVPs. I
Oh,
think
I'm
one of them
sure.
was,
I mean, if I was one of those people, I have a lot of bad shit to say. You'd be like, bitch, what?
right, and I mean, you can feel it. They say when you walk in, you can feel a heaviness in certain places. You can feel like something's watching you all the time. There have been people that have come out saying that it felt like they were never alone the entire time that they were there, even though it was just them and maybe a couple of people part of the group, but they felt like something that was not a part of the group was watching them. And then there's been people that have said that they've seen people looking out the windows, lights that have come on, even though there's no electricity in the building. You know,
Yeah,
some of the activities that they have are things that, you know, are, I would consider poltergeist in in a sense, because things move. There are wheelchairs that'll move. There are all kinds of different things that happen. Doors that open and close, slamming and banging from walls that you can't find where it's coming from, but you can hear it. So there's things like that that happen there too.
I if I was in there, I'd be one of those people that'd be, but one of those ghosts that'd be like, making all kinds of weird shit happen, chuck a few things across stuff, you know. I'd be like, you know what? I went through all this shit. Here, have fucking this. And throw something. I'd be like, yeah, that's what y'all get.
Right?
But you know, I'm crazy like that. So I think that's how I would be. I'd be like some of these people. I'd be like, you know what? Fuck all you people.
Right? Now, one of the things that I want so badly is to interview someone that works there during their Halloween fest, because they're the ones that generally get the most activity because they're there the most.
Right.
And
Oh, yeah.
so they're the ones that get a lot of interactions. So I would love to talk to somebody from there. But something that I've read and from things that I have watched, there's been all kinds of unexplained activity that just kind of makes you feel you're definitely not alone. You know, you feel the presence, you hear the presence. You know, these are things that people have on investigations that have gone. They've captured things on camera. They've
Oh, yeah.
captured things in video form. I'm sure even, you know, some of the ones that don't want to admit that there's something there have even, I'm sure, had some kind of experience that, you know,
Oh, yeah.
they had these.
Definitely. Definitely.
So
You gotta wonder how fast the turnover is.
Mm-hmm.
I would really like to know. Damn it!
Uh-oh.
On my stuff is locking down.
Oh, great.
She's gonna really have to get a new computer.
She needs a new computer. That thing's really kicking her butt.
Yeah, eventually when we get the money, I'm gonna get her a new computer. But yeah, I mean, it seems like even like asylums were like that all around the world. Because I've heard of asylums like in Australia and Germany and things like that, that patients were treated pretty much the same way. Like I know there's this one in Australia where they even thought if you did not go to church or you didn't believe in God, that you belonged in the asylum, and you were forced to literally go to church because they would build them right there in the asylum.
Oh, wow.
They even forced kids to do it too. Mm-hmm. And like there was, I can't remember which asylum it is, but there was this one asylum in Australia where, I mean, they had the separate from the males and the women, but they say that the men's ward is significantly worse than the females' ward because of all the stuff that they were doing over there. I'm not sure if it's the same for this one. I don't think so. I hate to say this, but here in the United States, we're a little more cruel, especially with asylums. We're a little more crueler than a lot of the other countries were.
Well, I'm going to show you something I think is going to make your hair kind of stand on edge. Because
I think that's a little more.
When Mom gets back anyway, because there's a lot more that I wanted to show. Allegheny, their tombstones didn't even have names.
Oh, so they just stuck bodies in the ground and just went, bam, there's a rock, bam, there's another rock, bam, another rock. Not even the didn't see if who this is. And when they died,
put numbers. That's it.
Oh, so you're a number. So you're just another slaughtered cow.
You got a number on your grave. That was it. I
would be pretty pissed off if I was if I died and all I'm looked at as a number. I'd be pretty pissed off too. I honestly better get if that was me. I'd honestly better get lucky number 7. Lucky number 7 is your contracts. Yeah, I'm sorry. If I got sent to asylum like that and lived through those conditions, I would so haunt the fucking place.
Yeah.
Okay, but you also gotta imagine, like, they say they see faces in windows and stuff like that, that they see people through the windows. Is that one of the things that you said that people would see?
Yes. Yes.
I see you.
Is Mom back?
Doesn't look like
Doesn't look like it on my screen.
No, doesn't look like it on mine either.
Go check. You know, when you said it felt like they would be being watched, you know what that came into my mind?
Huh.
Why does it feel like somebody's watching me? Tell me who's watching. It's still.
I'm at a
She's still waiting for the damn computer. But no, I could not. I could not imagine living every day like that. In your own feces, not eating well, being essentially tortured.
Yep.
Yeah.
And even and having little kids there as well. Like, now you gotta think, did those kids go through the same shit? More likely. Or did the people at least have the common courtesy not to do that shit to kids? I doubt it.
Alright. Let me know when Mom's back. I want to show these pictures, but I got to make sure that I got all the ones in one spot so I don't have to search for them.
Got it. It should be on here soon. I know she's trying to get it up.
Yeah.
But, dude, I'm sorry. I would have tried finding a way out. Like, you gotta remember, but these people were so drugged up that they wouldn't be able to do shit like that. It's true. Just the human race kind of sucks, doesn't it? Yes, it does. I mean, I could understand that they weren't as smart as people are now, but what in your mind made you think pulling chunks of people's brains out of their head was good? Or using have you ever been shocked? Okay, now you're shocking someone's brain. Go stick your finger. Go grab a fork. Stick it in an outlet and tell me how that feels. Now tell me it's gonna probably feel 10 times worse on your brain, which is literally nerves. I've been shocked by an outlet, and that shit sucks. So, yeah, no, I would not want somebody shocking my head.
Yeah, no.
Or the water, or that water shit. Why? That shit's fucked up too.
The hypo.
Yeah, where they would, I forget the name, but they would take you, dunk you in hot water for a minute, and then immediately transfer you into water.
Yep. It was hydrotherapy, I think it is.
Yeah. More like, you're gonna fuck my body temperature up therapy.
I mean, yeah, pretty much.
Because you're immediately moving someone from hot to cold. It's like throwing hot glass into ice. What's gonna happen? Not good. That's what's gonna happen. Now you gotta think about this person. They're hot as hell, and then all of a sudden thrown into ice cold. You gotta think. Plus, they're also on drugs, so now you gotta imagine what also is running through their head at the same time. Yeah. Like, could you imagine? Like, they're probably thinking they're gonna die. Probably, yeah, most likely. So the screaming and stuff like that is completely understandable.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Because, oh man.
I'm
And then
actually
the
gonna.
place is so crowded, right? You said there was 2 to 4 people in each room. Well, it was meant to only hold up to about 200 and something people.
It was
There was
only meant to
about
hold 250 people,
250
and
people.
ended up
Okay.
holding, and it ended up holding 2,400.
How many rooms are in this place? Not a lot.
Not a lot.
Because
Not
you
a
also
lot
got to
at
remember,
all.
you have to have areas for they keep the supplies. You have to have areas where they're supposed to make the food, the storage areas, the staff rooms, things like that. The areas where they're supposed to help patients.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to make room for those plus rooms for the people that. So sticking 2,400 people when you're supposed to have 250 people. You probably have more than just 3 to 4 people in one room. Yeah, but the things of it, there would probably be 10 people in rooms. And you were gonna think they would probably have to be laying on the hard floor. No, there would not be able to be room for beds. With how many people are obviously in there. So must have just slept on the fucking floor. No, I think they had beds, but probably pretty good ones. What?
They did have
Straw
beds.
and a.
They had beds.
They gave them the common courtesy of a bed.
Yeah.
Thank God. I get to
Okay, so I'm
sleep.
gonna show you guys this because we're still waiting for Mom. But
Mhm.
this is probably the worst list I've ever seen in my life, and it's the list of reasons for admission. Okay, I'll zoom in on that.
Oh God, that's a lot of reasons.
So we have anything from intemperance and business troubles, kicked in the head by a horse, hereditary predisposition, ill treatment by husband,
What's guilt
imaginary
treatment?
imaginary female
But
troubles, hysteria, immoral life, imprisonment, jealousy and religion, laziness, marriage of son, masturbation and syphilis, masturbation for 30 years. Yes.
you would get
Medicine
thrown
to
in
prevent
this place for
conception.
jerking yourself off?
Medicine to prevent conception, menstrual derange, mental excitement, novel reading,
Novel
nymphomania,
reading?
nymphomania, excuse me, opium habit, overacting action of the mind, overstudy of religion, overtaxing mental powers, parents were cousins, periodical fits, tobacco and masturbation, political excitement, politics, religion enthusiasm. Hold on.
Politics?
Fever and loss
Politics
of
in
lawsuits,
this place?
fits and desertion of husband, asthma, bad company, bad habits and physical excitement or political excitement, bad whiskey, blood flux, brain fever, business nerves, carbonic acid gas, congestion of the brain, death of sons in war,
Wait,
decoy into
wait,
the
wait, wait. Death of sons in war?
decoyed into the
So if you died in a war, you were sent to the mental ward?
yes.
That's fucked up, dude. How does that make sense? Dude, half this fucking history
There's
maybe
more,
on here.
guys. There's more. Deranged masturbation. I don't know what deranged masturbation is, but apparently
Maybe
that was
constant? Maybe constant? Like
I
20.
yeah. Desertion by
I don't know.
husband. So if your husband deserted you, you were put in the lunatic asylum.
That's
Dissolution
fucked up.
habits.
That's messed up.
domestic afflictions, domestic troubles. Dropsy. I have no idea what dropsy is.
Droppy. Does that mean if you drop your baby that?
Dropsy, like maybe you can't stop dropping things? I don't know. You got butterfingers? Egotism. So if you have an ego, you can't end up in here.
Well, then I would still be sent. I'd have been gone
Oh,
already.
if you were an epileptic, which means if you had seizures, epileptic fits would land you there. Excessive sexual abuse.
I would have been
Excitement as
screwed.
officer. Exposure and hereditary. Exposure and quackery. Exposure in the army. Fever and jealousy. Fighting a fire. What?
What?
Masturbation. Wait. You get thrown in for masturbation and then you get put in for not masturbating?
That makes no sense.
Suppression of menses.
The war.
Time of life. Uterine derangement. Venereal excess. Vicious vices. Women troubles. Superstition.
Women trouble.
Shooting of daughter.
Shooting of daughter.
Smallpox.
That sounds more like go to prison.
Smallpox. Snuff
Smallpox.
eating procedure. Not even kidding. Spinal irritation, gathering in the head, greediness, grief, gunshot wound. Hard study. Rumor of husband murder. Salvation Army. Scarlatina. Seduction and disappointment. Self-abuse. Sexual abuse and stimulation. Sexual derangements. False confinement. Fearlessness and intellect. Fell from horse in war. Female disease. Dissipation of nerves.
Falling off a horse in the war would get you sent there. Getting you shot. What is get sent you there? Well, okay, so what wouldn't get you sent there? Okay, raise your hand if you would have been sent to that mental ward.
At least 5 different times.
Dude, I would have been sent there at the age of 2 months. Now, when you had your seizure? Yeah!
We have juice, we have pizza.
I would have had no life.
So I just had to show that. There she is. Welcome back. I don't know if you got to see the list of what would land there.
You would have been sent there 10 times over.
Okay, so I'm gonna show Mom real quick. I'm not gonna read them all again because I already read them. But give me a second.
I think
this is the list of reasons to be admitted into Trans Allegheny. Oops. Oh shoot. Okay. That's not what I wanted to do.
Sometimes I think my computer is possessed.
Oh, I'm sure. Okay.
Like,
these are the reasons to which you can be admitted into the hospital.
I can't read that.
Huh?
I'm old. I can't read that.
Okay, so I'll read it off again. Intemperance and business trouble. Kicked in the head by a horse. Hereditary predisposition. Ill treatment by husband. Imaginary female troubles. Hysteria. Immoral life. Imprisonment, jealousy and religion, laziness, marriage of son, masturbation and syphilis, masturbation for 30 years, medicine to prevent conception, mental derangement, mental excitement, novel reading, nymphomania, opium habit, overaction of the mind, overstudy of religion, overtaxing of the mental power, parents for periodical fits, tobacco and masturbation, political excitement, politics, religious enthusiasm, fever and loss of lawsuit, fits in desertion of husband, asthma, bad company, bad habits and political excitement, bad whiskey, blood flux, brain fever, business nerves, carbonic acid gas, congestion of the brain, death of son in war, decoyed into the army, deranged masturbation, deserted by husband, and the list goes on. Dissolute habits, domestic affliction, domestic troubles, dropsy, I have no idea what that is, egotism, epileptic fits, excessive sexual abuse, excitement as officer, exposure and hereditary exposure, and quackery, exposure in the army, fever and jealousy, fighting a fire, suppressed masturbation. So you can't masturbate too much, but you can't not masturbate. Suppression of menses, the war,
Yeah,
time of
does that
life,
make
uterine derangement, venereal excess, vices, women troubles, superstition, shooting of daughter, smallpox, snuff eating for 2 years, spinal irritation, gatherings in the head, which I have no idea what that is, greediness, grief, gunshot wounds, their hard study, rumor of her husband being a murderer, scarlatina, seduction and disappointment, explain that one, self-abuse, sexual stimulation, sexual derangement, false confinement, feebleness of intellect, fell from a horse in war, female disease, and dissipation of nerves.
okay? So then we're all in there. Every
Pretty
single
much.
American in person
Yeah,
goes
I'd have
into
been
the
there. I'll
asylum
be sitting there at the age of 2 months.
Oh, but it gets
because
better because I'm going to show you some pictures now of what would happen to
like
you
I
if you
mean,
died in the asylum.
think about it. We all go through one of those things at one point in time in our life.
Hmm.
So everybody's
Now,
screwed.
if you look at these tombstones, what do you notice? First and foremost, what do you notice?
They're
Blocks of rocks.
they're bricks,
Okay,
and
what
they
else
have
do you notice?
numbers on the top.
Huh?
I said they're bricks with numbers on the top.
That would be your tombstone had you died at Trans Allegheny.
I got a number. Shit.
This would
I hope
be
I
your
get a
tombstone.
lucky number.
If you had died in Trans Allegheny at that time because there were so many people that died there, you got a number. You weren't given your name on a tombstone. Your family never came to collect you. You were just a number. In the end, that's all you were.
You got tricked in a ditch and became a number.
This is it.
Right?
So, I mean, and this is what their graveyard consisted of. Now, this is one of the rooms. I was trying to find a picture of one of the rooms I found there. So this is the yellow room.
Crappy ass bed. You think they're gonna
Yeah.
give you some luxury bed?
I mean, it is a free bed. Didn't say it was a good bed.
I'd rather sleep in the floor.
This is the nurse's office, or the, so to speak, the healthcare facility. That doesn't
Dude,
look
that's
very healthy.
creepy.
I don't know about you guys.
That
This
looks
is when you-
creepy. Like I think I would, even if I broke my arm, I think I would avoid going to the nurse's office. That's good. I can still use it.
This is where you
Right?
would receive medical.
I'm shot in the chest, bleeding out to death, but I'm not going there.
This
Right?
is the surgical wing. Now you can see there's blood on it. That's not actual blood. It's blood from when they set it up for Halloween. So there's all this all over the walls. That's just how they set it up for Halloween. But this is the original surgical table. And you can see where they've got the black blood to run off. Huh?
I'm pretty sure it probably looked like that at that point in time.
Oh, I'm sure it probably did. I'm sure it probably did. This is an actual operating table with the real straps, the whole nine. The only thing that's not is the blood that's on there. This is the hall. This is the wheelchair, actually, that they say moves. So this is the one that moves, which all by itself is pretty creepy. Nobody's in it. Why is it moving? This was one of their tranquilizing chairs. This was how they would confine somebody that was out of control. And they even have some of the...
Probably the reason you're going to get put in that chair.
I'm good.
Well, yeah, you got to think about it. Okay, they're putting a box around your head. Like, you're not going to want to wig your head back and forth.
See if I can read this here. The tranquilizing chair was developed by Dr. Benjamin Rush and based on his beliefs that certain types of madness were the result of blood flowing too rapidly through the brain. This device immobilized the patient's head in a wooden box with their limbs strapped to a sturdy chair. Rush theorized incorrectly that the subject would experience a slower flow of blood through the brain, which would have a calming effect on the mental patients prone to violence. Dr. Rush also designed the spinning device for catatonic patients whose blood he believed was flowing too slowly and were needing stimulation. So somehow this thing was supposed to make your blood flow slower. I have no idea how.
That makes
All I
no
can see is
sense.
like me, if I was having a tantrum and I got put into that, I wouldn't want to whack my head on the box thing.
No, right?
Be like, okay, I'm still. I don't need no more brain damage. Okay.
Now here's the saddest room of all that I've ever seen. This is the children's ward.
You got to think
This
about how many
literally,
children slept in one bed.
yeah. I mean that bed is tiny, and you got to imagine it wasn't very roomy,
Like two kids sharing one bed.
probably.
Dude, I guarantee you
Now,
probably had more than two kids sharing one bed.
this is supposed to be the hospital waiting room, but you can see they've modernized it some in order to keep it clean, preserved, what have you. But
But
here's one of
look
the
Yeah.
what's
original
on
wheelchairs.
there. Like,
Huh?
oh, it's one of the. I'd be like, I don't want to sit in that chair. I don't care if I'm waiting in the weight room. That chair, no.
Right?
Yeah, but
So,
you gotta imagine that waiting room looked way different than that.
so again, Trans Allegheny was definitely a frightful place, I would consider it to be. I wouldn't want to be there. I wouldn't have
Oh,
wanted
heck
to
no.
end up there.
I'm good.
And
I'm
anybody that knew
not
about
with
Trans
something.
Allegheny at the time, you got to imagine how they felt driving down the pathway, down the road, knowing that's where they were going.
Yeah, no, because like listening to some of the shit that you go there for, like a fire.
Or getting
Yeah,
shot.
not
Or throwing off your horse at war.
I was gonna say not for lighting a fire, but for fighting a fire.
Yeah, like I
Like,
said,
what are they supposed to
that
let it
whole
burn?
list, that whole list, we'd all be in there. Every
Oh
single
yeah,
person.
I would have been there fucking 5, 10 times over.
Okay, because like they have some crazy stuff. Okay, masturbating too much, not masturbating enough. Like not not masturbating enough. What that makes
Being
you like?
abandoned by your husband was reason to be thrown into there.
Like that was
Yeah,
your fault.
Like,
Your husband left you. You're going to a psyche ward. Well, you got to do think at the
you
time.
suspected your husband of murder, and you were thrown in there. That was one of the reasons that someone was thrown in there was for suspecting her husband of murder.
Or
yeah.
shot a
Like,
daughter.
Like,
oh, I suspect my
seriously though?
my husband's a serial killer. Okay, and I'm gonna say
Right?
he's a
And
serial
that was
killer.
enough reason to get locked up. That's all it would take.
Wee
That
you, here we come. Shit. Like I said, everybody in this world, according to that list, would be there.
oh
You
yeah.
think it was? You think it was overpopulated then? Try now with all the excuses.
Right?
Good God! Like some of those were like insane.
Like getting hit in the head by a horse. Instead of going to a hospital or emergency
Right to
room,
get that shit
no,
treated.
we go to an insane asylum.
A horse kicked me in the head. I'm bleeding at the brain, but we're not going to go to a hospital. They're going to take me to the mental ward while my brain bleeding.
Right? I mean, some of the reasons that I read menstrual problems. If you're a woman having woman problems, you were put into the mental ward. We do that
Yeah.
once a month. Does that mean I get thrown in at the beginning of the month, taken out when I'm done?
When your time is up, yeah, it's on you.
Like, damn.
Six you for having a period.
Right?
Right?
It sucked to be a woman back then.
Right?
Yeah. Some of those things are just insane.
Mm. I definitely kind of raised my eyebrow when I was reading that. I was like, there's no way. There's no way.
And
Oh my goodness. I'm like, you started reading and I'm listening to this shit. And I'm sitting here going, oh man, I'd have been there like every day, all day, like just straight up.
Right? I mean, they basically used it as a penalty box for
Right.
everything and anything that was considered undesirable somehow.
Yeah.
And then, if you died there, you didn't even get the dignity of having your name on a tombstone. You got a
nope.
number and a blank sheet of paper,
I
basically,
am
saying,
number
"I died."
231.
Back on the treasure.
I am number 777.
But yeah, so you gotta think these people did not even have dignity. They weren't even allowed dignity. They didn't die with dignity.
Oh no,
They didn't
most of
have
them don't.
anything to even represent them besides a number.
Yeah, most of them don't. Like they don't have that. They're not human.
Yeah,
And
that's basically it too. It's probably
and
the
which
most
is sad
inhuman thing.
because of those reasons. Like human enough because you're having menstrual problems. You're not human enough because you fought a fire and we're gonna put you in there. Like,
So does that
Right.
mean these fighter fighters went to the mental ward?
well, according to that thing, probably.
Well, then
Yeah.
well, yes, California was kind of screwed at the time.
I just don't quite understand the mentality back then, and I don't think I ever will. I don't think there's any of us that can ever really understand
Now you
what
gotta,
people were thinking back then.
now you gotta think. Was the
Yeah.
person who made that list insane? I think so.
So of course
So
not
guess
because
what, guys? Tomorrow we have my favorite group.
It was probably one of the doctors there. So no, he's not insane. Even though
Right?
he's
Sure,
probably,
one of the doctors
even
did
though he's
seem
probably the
insane.
most insane person in there because who thinks of those reasons?
Right?
Okay, what would you think a reason to go to mental ward would be?
Me?
Not those. Yes.
Here's one
For
for
harm-
you.
being-
You burn an
being
entire
harmed to
family alive because you didn't like the color of their house. Okay? That's somebody I'd
Okay.
probably go, okay, we need some help.
Yeah, that's a definite.
Not I'm fighting a fire or I got shot.
you know, a reason,
Somebody can.
actual reason to go in there is that, excuse me, I might cause bodily harm to myself or others. Okay.
Yeah.
Those are reasons to go there. Not, oh, I got kicked in the head by a horse. My brain is bleeding, but send me to the mental ward.
That one still gets me. I'm just like, really though?
You've already having a bad day. You've been kicked in the head by a horse. Now you gotta go
All right,
to the
and
mental
then
ward.
what? The motherfuckers come and get you and
Right?
take
You're
you
already having
out
a
of it
shitty
like,
ass
man,
day.
911, what's your emergency? I was kicked in the head by a horse. Wrong number. I need you to dial this number, please.
Right? Right? Like, sorry, can't help you. Go to the mental ward.
Go to the mental ward. They should be able to help you.
as you die like a day or two later because your brain is full of blood.
Right? So, guys, guess what? We have my favorite family coming on tomorrow. We have Mary, Shauna, Chantel, Maida, and Ryan coming on tomorrow for their second episode with us.
Right on.
So we get to talk more awesome sauce about their, raising and growing up and what have you. And that's at 7 p.m. So that'll be 4 your time.
Yep.
All right. Thank you for joining us on Ladies of the Paranormal World with Dark Angel, Drusilla, Wendigo, and Skinwalker. We swapped places for a minute. I'm gonna go ahead and play the outro before we do the ending. So do this again. I don't know why I stopped sharing because I was gonna have to do this anyway.